Hi, this is Lymphoma blog number 3. I was going to talk a little bit today about how these things manifest itself. So historically, I had two types of lymphoma. The one that I am living with constantly is the one that was undetected, but it was that one that caused the second and more dangerous one. So, if you like, there was an underlying condition, bubble, 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 and then one of my lymphs kind of went poof, and that turned into what they call large B cell lymphoma, and I had a stage 4 tumour, which is what they treated with chemotherapy. But what also happens with these types of lymphoma is you get what you call extranodal sites, and that this literally means that it can live somewhere else other than in the lymph nodes, and that some of these are more dangerous than others. It's interesting, for instance, if you take out travel insurance, that once they know you have a type of lymphoma, they'll ask you questions about have you ever had it in these areas. So in my case, originally actually we were looking for hip joint problems, and which is how an issue was flagged up. My bones didn't look quite right. This turned out to be my extranodal site, so my lymph cancer, if you like, had added bits floating around in my bone marrow. This was good news because your bone marrow regenerates. So basically what they said to me is the chemotherapy would zap the grade 4 tumour, and also my bones would heal automatically as part of that. And indeed they did. But there are more dangerous extranodal sites, which of course every time you renew your travel insurance you're reminded of every year, and that is in your spinal column and in your brain, probably the two worst ones, and where you don't want it to go if you can help it. Not that we have any control over these matters. So I just wanted to say that there's two main things there. One, that probably I may well have been living with the underlying condition, and a friend of mine on Facebook said they didn't even know he'd got it till he went in to have one thing looked at, and they spotted he had follicular lymphoma. So I could have been living with that condition for 18 months, 2 years, or whatever, with it ticking over, with me feeling tired and all the other symptoms, but just generally putting those down to busy lifestyle, menopause, itchy skin due to psoriasis or whatever. And then because it in other types of cancers you'd say it metastasized, because it one of my lymphs got very angry. Instead of just glowing, it went poof. That's why I ended up with this tumor in the groin area and the extranodal site. So just wanted to explain that in terms of how this disease can manifest itself in your body. Again, whilst it's the most common type of blood cancer, it can be quite complex for both the clinicians and yourself to get your brain around, because in many ways each individual is different in terms of how it manifests itself. So when you're not having extranodal sites, or when you're basically with just this underlying dormant type, nothing else technically is going on until they discover it is, or I discover it is. As far as we're aware at this point, and for the last few years, I am on a what they call wait and watch. And the truth of the matter is nobody knows if I will then go on to develop more sooner rather than later. I think the long and the short of it is they suspect it will manifest it later, but there are certainly people who have lymphoma who who I was going to say smiling, who die of other things, meaning, I could have this within my system for a long time and still be run over by a bus. I hope that makes some kind of sense, especially for those of you going through stuff like this. It maybe helps explain a little bit about the complications related to this disease. And do go to the lymphoma websites, as they're very good at explaining all of this and the symptoms. Speak to you tomorrow.